So, Robert, I just want to get your reaction to that reference to the Holocaust right now, at a time when Jewish communities here in the U.S. and around the world are really feeling threatened.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's something that is despicable, but I think it's unfortunately what we've come to expect from Donald Trump when he gets into talking about his own legal troubles, not his actions, not his responsibilities, but trying to, in a harsh and negative way, characterize everything else. I can only imagine that as he sits there 4 out of the 5 days of the week, this stuff builds up. Again, this is language we've heard, references that we've heard in similar instances before. And look, they continue to think, the Republican side and the Trump campaign continue to think that drawing attention to this trial and drawing some sort of action and activity around it is important for who he is and the message that he has. I don't think it works with suburban swing voters quite the way they think it does, but I don't think there are many cards that they have to play on this.
Pick up on that, Maura. Was Donald Trump sort of playing to an audience there with those comments, or was it even too far for them as well? In other words, were Republican voters cringing or cheering a comment like that?
I think with Donald Trump, he is always playing the victim. And so in his brain, it is just what's happening in his world. He's not thinking outside context. He's not thinking about anyone else but himself. And so in that moment, I think he's playing to what he thinks the base would normally cheer for, or things that he says that are derogatory towards President Biden and his administration and what they've, as he claims, have been attacking him, putting him in this position in the first place to be on trial and what he calls sham trials. It all kind of goes into what Donald Trump does. But again, it's his role playing the victim, and I don't know that really plays to that small percentage of voters that are going to really make or break the 2024 election.
Right, those independent voters, women perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
As Dasha mentioned, there were a number of potential Trump VP picks at this event this weekend, including Senator Tim Scott, who joined Kristen Welker on Meet the Press yesterday, and she pressed him on whether he will accept the 2024 election results. Watch this.
Well, Senator, will you commit to accepting the election results of 2024? Bottom line.
At the end of the day, the 47th president of the United States will be President Donald Trump, and I'm excited to get back to low inflation, low unemployment.
Wait, Senator, yes or no? Yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter who wins?
That is my statement.
But is it just yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024?
I look forward to President Trump being the 47th president. Kristen, you can ask him multiple times.
Senator, just a yes or no answer.
So, Robert, Scott was not a 2020 election denier, yet he couldn't say yes, that he will accept the 2024 election results. How concerning is that?
Well, it's all part of the tryout. I mean, look, this is, having these would-be vice presidential candidates come down, calling them out, having them interact with donors, having some of them speak. This is Donald Trump watching them try out to be loyal to him, regardless of what they've said in the past, regardless of their actions and their statements. And what you saw Tim Scott do on Meet the Press was just a continuation of that tryout. Donald Trump wants to see if these candidates are all in on supporting Donald Trump and whatever actions he may or may not take at the end of this election. It's a startling thing to watch a U.S. senator who ran his own presidential campaign sort of stammer on something so obvious that he was going to get asked this question. Many of them will be asked this question between now and Election Day. But again, I think he gave the answer that he wanted Donald Trump most to hear, not necessarily the one he may believe in his mind.
What do you make of it? What's your take?
I think it's really bad for not only the Republican Party, but for the country as a whole, because especially for the Trump voters, you should want somebody to say that they are going to accept the election results, because right now polls are showing that Donald Trump is ahead of Joe Biden. So to then have this interview where he is refusing to outright say it, I think that creates a real problem for them going forward. One, it's I think slightly embarrassing for Senator Tim Scott to refuse to answer a question that is about our basic democracy and our system of government and how we elect presidents. But it's really important for Republicans to accept the results of an election.
It's about the democratic system here in this country, as you mentioned. Thank you so much for joining us, Dasha Burns, Robert Gibbs, and Maura Gillespie. Appreciate the conversation. And